Hello,
How you doing, bud?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Well, I just met Lisa Denise at the baggage claim in Tucson, and we're waiting for the rest of the team to show up. So we'll give you a play-by-play as the bags come out of the carousel.
Amazing. Um, so kind of the reason for today's kind of space is to kind of talk all about Inspire 24 and I believe we've got some amazing news kind of what's happening with you over the next few days. So should we wait a few more minutes to let everyone join then start?
Okay, sounds good to me.
Amazing. We'll wait a minute or so to for everyone to come in. Amazing. Looks like we've got enough people in here to start. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Amazing. So I kind of wanted to start off with, could you talk a bit about 24 before? Can you tell us all about that and why it was started and what your goal is?
All right. Well, yes, my name is Andrew Paris. My call sign is Titan. I'm one of the founders and current president of the Inspired 24. We're a group of space enthusiasts who basically were all contestants in the Inspiration 4 mission. Um, and we met up there at the launch and got to be good friends and realized we had something in common. So after a little while of communicating with each other, we decided to create our own group. And the story behind the name goes that the night before the launch, we were eating dinner at a local seafood place there at Cape Canaveral, and there were 24 of us, and that's where the number comes from. But something else had happened during that dinner was we were all talking amongst ourselves, and the loud music was playing, of course, that many restaurants do. And the music died down for a second, and I just out of nowhere, with no encouragement by anybody, just said out loud, somebody at this table is going to fly in space. And there was kind of a dead hush, and everybody's like laughing and clapping and saying, "Yeah, it's a great idea." Well, within 6 months, Ruben Salinas had won, one of our founding members, one of the persons there, had won a seat on a New Shepard flight. So my prediction came true pretty quick, which was kind of amazing. Anyway, so we've organized into lack of a better word, a space club. And part of we're right now we're twofold. The club is basically helping everybody who's interested in flying in space, help to get them into space, whether it be or experience what it's like to be an astronaut, zero G flights, any kind of information we can help tell people about, like worldview balloon rides and all those kind of things. Right now, we're not in a position to financially support anybody, but we're supporting each other as far as just spreading information. For an example, yesterday or day before yesterday, I think it was, NASA Social came out with their application announcement for Crew 7, and we make sure everybody in the group gets word, hey, get ready, apply for it if you want to, which is just kind of what we do, keep everybody informed. The other half of I-24 is now a 501c3 nonprofit where we are looking to do STEM and educational outreach and help make people's dreams of flying in space real through contests for like zero G flights and eventually, hopefully, things like flights on New Shepard and Virgin Galactic.
That sounds amazing. You've come since your meeting a few years ago. For people who want to become members of the Inspire 24, how do they go about that? And are you looking for more members at the moment?
Well, we're always looking for people who are space positive. That's one of our catchphrases. We're a group of people who are very space positive. We think positively about space, and we want to be active about not only helping ourselves, each other, but others also. So if you want to join the Inspire 24, you just go to www.theinspired24.com, or you can go. We're on Twitter here as theinspired24.com, and there's a link there. And yes, we're always looking for new members. Right now, we're in a no charge scenario where we basically, if you become a member, you're a member, and that's basically how it happens. And we have patches and stickers we give people to give them a little pride in the group. One thing that we're looking down the road as the group grows bigger and we start looking at being able to fund different things is a membership fee, but we're trying to keep it as low cost as possible at all. One thing we're talking about getting zero G flights and maybe even uh, um, sending kids and adults to space camp, things like that. would be self-funding through a raffle contest. Right now, Gaze in Space has a seat on a Worldview balloon. And for those of you who don't know about Worldview, Worldview is a company based here in Tucson that's going to be flying people to 100,000 feet here in a couple of years. And their seats are $50,000. And it's not just a quick ride, it's a 6 to 8 hour ride. And Gaze in Space has acquired a seat donated by Worldview, and they're raffling it off. You buy chances to win, and then eventually they'll give the seat away. And that's one of the things we're looking at doing down the road as part of I-24.
Wonderful. And so one of the things you're doing tomorrow and the day after is the Center for Human Space Exploration kind of training.
Yes.
Could you tell me a bit more about that? And I've seen some projects they're doing, like zero G test flights, like you said.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit more about that? And is there
Yeah.
anyone I could maybe invite onto the space who can talk a bit more about that? Who's going to be there as well?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yes. In fact, I'm sitting in the airport in Tucson, sitting next to Lisa Denise Ricks. We call her LDR. She's one of the other members that are joining us for astronaut skills training this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. We have a total of 5 of us. We're waiting for we're waiting for Brooke, Holly, and Susie. We'll round out the team, and our instructor is going to be Trent Tresh, who is works for the University of Arizona and the Chase, which is the Center for Human Space Exploration. They're the ones running this training. And it's basically astronaut skills. We're going to learn pressure suit. Tomorrow we're going to be at the Biosphere 2 up north of Marana, here north of Tucson. And that's where we're going to go through pressure suit training. We're going to get familiarization and some other things like seat ingress and egress and some other safety issues, which is an absolute must. If you ever want to fly in space, pressure suit training is an absolute must. It's one of those things. We're all about getting people the skills to become astronauts, and so that's one really big check mark. One thing you can check off your list. And then Sunday we're going to be doing water egress training and Gumby suit training at the University of Arizona pool down on the main campus, and that will involve getting out into a raft. Also wearing the big orange Gumby suits. I don't know if people have seen those. Are the ones a lot of times folks on oil rigs and large ships will have these Gumby suits. They're basically big orange suits. You look like Gumby when you put them on, and you get in the water, and you got to learn how to work with those. And those are very cumbersome, but that's very important to learn that kind of stuff. But yeah, as a whole, this is kind of one of our plans, is to start helping people develop the skills, and we're hoping this class we're calling I-24 Class 1. Hope to be one of the first of many, and we're also Chase is using us as a guinea pig to do this commercially. They charge way less than everybody else. If you try to do this anyplace else, it's thousands and thousands of dollars. Right now, Chase is only charging $400 a day for the skills training, which ends up being about $800 for the weekend. Now, they will probably end up raising their prices eventually. So if this is something you think you might want to do, it might be a good time to sign up. We're actually going to start recruiting people within the I-24 as starting next week as soon as I get home, because we want to debrief this and get it developed, because this is something, like I said, it's too good of an opportunity to turn down, to overlook or let go by.
Yes, this opportunity sounds amazing. Before I carry on with the questions, if anyone has a question who's listening, just click the request button down in the bottom left, and I'll get through to you once we've asked some more questions.
I'm sitting here next to LDR trying to convince her to come on and talk about it. So let's encourage her to get on there. Everybody, come on. Anyway, but yeah, so I talk about some other things that we've done so far for I-24. We were sponsors for Yuri's Night, the Kennedy Space Center Yuri's Night, a couple months ago. That was an absolute blast. This is an opportunity where people get to come together. Anybody who doesn't know what Yuri's Night, it's essentially a yearly celebration of the flight of the first human, Yuri Gagarin. It's April 12th, 1961, which is only a few months before I was born, so that's kind of close to my heart. But they don't, generally they have a celebration is worldwide, but because if your April 12th falls on the middle of the week, it's not easy to have a party. So they break it up on to the 2 weekends in between. And this year they had a Yuri's Night LA, where they were out at the California Air and Space Museum, and then the next weekend we had Yuri's Night at Kennedy Space Center. And so it's a chance to go meet other like-minded space positive people and kind of celebrate the whole thing and connect and so forth. And it really was a lot of fun. We were sponsors, and we've already committed to sponsoring next year also.
Amazing. What did you enjoy most? Because you were at the Yuri's night, yes?
Yeah, I was. It was a whole group of us. In fact, we're all going through our pictures right now, trying to remember, because the pictures were kind of delayed coming out of Yuri's night. They had a couple staff photographers, and they just finally got the pictures to us. Going back and remember everything on. It was just great. The best part was meeting people. I mean, there was several astronauts there. I'm trying to remember. Dr. Proctor was there, who's a good friend of ours.
Yes.
The gentleman who coined the phrase overview effect, which is another big thing within, I can't remember his name right now. He was there. We had a bunch of couple of I-24 banners. We had a lot of people sign. Tim Dodd, the everyday astronaut, who was going to be flying on Dear Moon in a couple years, was there.
Yeah.
And it was a real who's who. Everybody. I mean, I'm having trouble remembering everybody because there were just so many people there, and that's just one of those things. And it really is kind of a party atmosphere. You get to celebrate the positives of space, and also a chance. There's a lot of charity work done there too. But it's a good time. That's probably what we're also going to do next year is not only sponsor, but we'll give away tickets or trip packages maybe so people can go there to the one at Kennedy. Actually, if I remember correctly, they're going to be moving the entire celebration for 2024 to outside of Austin, Texas, because they're going to have it occur during one of the two eclipses, solar eclipses that'll be going on. So they want to kind of combine the whole process. It'll be Yuri's night and a solar eclipse kind of thing, and which will make it easier because it'll be more centralized in the country as opposed to the East Coast and the West Coast. And I think it's going to be a week long too. So they're really turning up the volume on it.
Amazing. Kind of back onto the chase training. What kind of things, if someone wasn't interested in space as much, would going to this training kind of help in areas outside of space flight as well?
Well, I mean, part of it in any kind of training when it comes to this kind of situations is just getting comfortable with technology. And there's also another term that they like to use, becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable. And there's a lot of life
Yeah.
lessons there. Getting in a pressure suit and doing things that you're not used to, you have to get comfortable with that idea. Yeah, you're uncomfortable for a few minutes or a couple hours, but you know it's going to end. And I can't think of a better life lesson than something like that. If you've got some phobias or fears in your life, learning how to be comfortable being uncomfortable is a great thing. And I know, by the way, that Chase is going to be increasing their curriculum in the future. I don't know exactly yet. They're still trying to figure that out themselves. Like I said, this is relatively early on in their process. So you just keep your eyes and ears open. It could be stuff that crosses more over into aeronautical as opposed to aerospace. You there, Felix? I think we've lost Felix. Well, anyone want to
Can you
come
hear
up
me
and talk?
still?
Oh, now I got you. Yeah, there was a big rumbling there for a little bit.
All right. So we've got two people on here. Carlos, who I believe is part of the Inspired Four. I'll invite him on first. If he
Okay.
has any questions, want to chat more.
Yeah, Carlos is one of our part of our I-24 leadership, and his call sign is Risk, and he got that name because he was always every time we had a meeting, he'd be doing something risky, like he was on a tilt-a-whirl at a carnival, or he was driving,
Oh wow.
or a thing like that. Yes, he's into Risk, and that's kind of a pet name. And like we give everybody within the I-24 a call sign, and it's an enduring kind of thing. Unlike the military, where they give you like the most meanest thing they can think of, and don't believe all the movies when you hear Maverick and all these other guys. Those are not real call
Yeah.
signs. We give nice call signs. We like to look for the positive. Like Trent Tresh, who is part of the I-24, but he also runs part of Chase, is part of the Space Plus 5 commercial astronaut program, and they gave him a call sign Atlas because he's very supportive. So that's a great one too. So if you join,
Amazing.
you don't get to pick your own call sign. We get to pick your call sign. We ask you questions. We find out about you and so forth. So that's something we like to do.
Amazing. He's just joined now. If you have anything to say, you'd like to to talk about Inspire 24, go ahead.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Well, thank you for bringing me back up. I don't know why. I think I had submitted a request and then my app crashed. So I was hoping that it didn't crash this time. Um, but yeah,
Well,
just happy to be here. I'm excited to see what the trace training is going to look like for the I-24 members. So overall, I'd like to see the impact that our community has been able to have in bringing people together like in spaces like this. So I want to say thank you to Felix for doing this. Um, but yeah, overall it's really exciting. And one of the things that I was thinking back on, uh, and there's a lot of noise because I'm driving, so you hit it on the nail, Titan, that I was doing something again while I'm speaking. But one of the things that stood out to me was that whenever I would go into a space, about space or any other topic, I would feel like an outsider. But to those of you who are in this Twitter space, who are interested in doing things like Yuri's night, attending the Chase program, and just getting involved in space activities, the I-24 group is there to get you closer to those events, right? We're a group of everyday people. Um, you don't need to come from a technical background. I was working at a car dealership before I even got involved in anything with space. And just the amount of opportunities and the doors that open up through a group of like-minded people and space positive people is just insane. So I encourage everybody here, if you're not a part of I-24, to shoot us a DM or look us up on i24.com, theaspire24.com, and just we're here to support you, and we would be more than happy to bring you on to the organization and to the group. But yeah, happy to be here, guys. How are you guys feeling for the chase training?
oh, we're really pumped. It's one of those things where I was so busy getting it organized and taking care of all kinds of business and so forth that I kind of forgot that what we were going to be doing. I just kind of set that aside and said, well, I got more important things to do. And then this morning I got up and I realized, oh, wait a minute, I got to go pick them up today. Everybody up so we can go, and the training starts tomorrow. And I'm like, wow, this is really great. Now, like I said, Ruben Salinas, who is part of the Space Plus Five. In fact, I'm going to need to back up on that story. So the Space Plus Five was a group of 5 people that were picked to be commercial astronaut candidates from a group called Space Plus, which is a Web3 division of Uplift Aerospace. And they picked 5 people from the Discord were picked, and then they had essentially a campaign, and then the Discord group voted, and Ruben Salinas won. Well, of the 5 finalists, there was Trent, Ruben, Joan Marie Meisner, who is a NASA engineer over in Florida. She's an integration engineer. And then also Sydney Hamilton, who's an educator out in California. The 4 of the 5 finalists were I-24 members. And that just says so much about this group of people. And the 5th finalist was a gentleman by the name of Mike Mungo. And I hope to gosh, everybody in this group knows who Mike Mungo is, because he is a one-of-a-kind jewel of a person to know. He's an student astronaut trainer. He basically goes around to schools and talks to kids about what it's like to become an astronaut and what they need to do. He's over in Saxford, UK right now, doing some classes with their school and doing STEM outreach and so forth with them. Anyway, yes, he's the guy with the upside down glasses. If anybody is curious about that. So, but what I was saying is, so the Space Plus group were very kind in what they're doing, and the other 4, even though that didn't get picked to get to fly a New Shepard like Ruben was, they continued a training regiment through the years, so they could all come out with a certificate that they'd been trained to be commercial astronauts. So they got to fly 0G. They got to come here to Chase to the biosphere and do all that type of training, which is kind of what the Chase is modeling for us on this. And I want to let everybody know that when we talk about things that I-24 is doing, we're open to anything. If anybody has any ideas that they want to help us develop, we are absolutely open to any suggestions. I know everybody has ideas for doing things, and so we're always looking for help. The one thing is, I do ask, if you come with an idea, be prepared to support it and help us do it, because this is all a volunteer organization. Everybody's got their regular lives and so forth, and so it's kind of tough to get people to commit a lot of times for some long-term stuff. Some of us have, and we're committed to this organization for the full length of it. And then other people come in and they get to go do have the fun stuff and so forth, which we love having. And we completely understand people have regular lives. So don't ever worry about not being able to participate in something if you've got something going on. Like I said, we completely understand, but we're there for you when you're ready. That's basically what I'm trying to say. So if you've got some ideas, please do bring them to us. Let us know what you might want to do. And I want to give a shout out. If I think Matt's on here, Matt Duman, he was on here a little ago. We just brought on our first social media director, Matt Duman, who just joined with us, and he's helping out, which is something I've had to mess with since the beginning, which is a handful and a half on most days. And I'm so grateful to have Matt with us. So if you ever see Matt, say thank you.
Amazing, yeah. And you said about Mike Mongo. Mike's amazing. I've got an interview with him up on my channel. We've got someone else who wants to ask a question. Before I say that, if you don't want to talk, but you have a question, tag me in a tweet, and I'll make sure that's asked. So we've got one more person here who wants to talk, who has a question. Hello.
Well, hello everyone.
Hello.
Well, I know I've spoke to Andrew before, and obviously I know of you, Felix. I was just a simple question. Well, kind of a two-part question, personally. What would you say, like, you always want to do adventures, like, for example, zero G training, for example, and also like for suborbital flights such as Blue Origin. Have you ever contacted like those companies to see the costs of those?
Oh yes, absolutely. Zero G right now is about just a little over $9,000, and I think they have a discount. You can get a couple $100 discount. It used to be like a flat 8, and they've had to raise prices. And that is a lot of money. I won't pretend like it's not. But in my particular case, I actually flew zero G. Just a little more background. I worked for NASA back in the 80s and 90s for 13 years, and 10 years I spent at the Johnson Space Center as a television engineer. And for a couple of years in there, I flew zero G for NASA. I was a camera operator essentially. And that time it was fun doing that, but I was always working, so I never got to have fun. I never got to go enjoy it. So when this opportunity came up last year, when Space Plus was planning their training program for the Space Plus 5, I saw the opportunity. I checked it, called up, and they said, "Yeah, we have room for you." So I was able to come up with the money for that, and it's a bucket list bucket list thing for me. And that's something everybody has to decide upon. $9,000 is quite a lot of money, but if it's something that if you're committed to a career in aerospace, become an astronaut or anything like that, if you know, a possible dream, it's definitely worth it. And like I said, there just so everybody knows, there are contests constantly. There are people on social media and other venues that are giving away flights on zero G. I've lost track, and maybe Keith Yon there could tell you how many there are. I know he's applied to them all.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Andrew.
That kind of stuff. Yep.
Amazing. Amazing question from you. We haven't got any more questions yet. So I think we'll put this on mute for a few minutes, wait for any more questions, and if they don't, we'll end it off here.
Okay. I guess I have a couple other things I could say, Felix, if it's okay.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so we talked about worldview there for a second. I was going to make this announcement a little later, but I guess I can use this. Use this venue to promote it. So there's a bunch of us within I-24 that have all signed up. It started almost a year ago when I was made aware of this was going to fly, and it's something I decided I wanted to do. There have been many contests to become an astronaut. There was the Inspiration 4 contest. There have been multiple other ones. You can go even back all to Mars 1, all the way back to Space Hero. And I got to the point where I was feeling a little down about entering all these contests and realizing the odds of me winning these things were pretty pretty slim, but I never say die. I'm always going to enter them. I'm always going to encourage everybody to do them. And when Worldview came along and their tickets were $50,000, which once again is a lot of money, but that was something I thought about, and I realized, you know what, I'm going to commit to that because that's something I could do. Now, it's not a flight to space. It is considered space tourism, but it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to go to the stratosphere. And when you do fly there, you will be considered a stratonaut. It is going to be it's actually fewer people have gone to the stratosphere and hung out in the stratosphere than have gone to space. It's actually a new area of adventure. And I'm with companies like Worldview, and there's a couple other out there. This list of people who become stratronauts will grow. Is it the same as being an astronaut? Well, no. But you know what? It's still pretty cool. And if we get to fly as teams, as we hope to someday, that's even better. Fly like I said, flying with friends is always a lot of fun. Flying 0G with your friends is a lot of fun. And so flying to 100,000 feet and spending 6 hours and taking in the overview effect, I think is going to be fantastic. But what I wanted really was to say that I have officially secured my funding for my ticket. So now my dream will come true to go on Worldview. We're hoping to do, it's another thing within I-24 we're going to be doing is hoping to find commercial partnerships for funding other people's rides. This is, it's something we hope to be able to do. It's something that we're still 2 years, the flights are still probably 2 years off. Worldview hasn't given a hard time yet. They're still developing the technology, but we're all being very patient for that. So that's, once again, another opportunity. If that's something people want to talk about, I'm perfectly willing to talk to them about it. I think we have 21 or 22 people signed up right now. And the hope is that we can work something out with Worldview to allow us to fly in the groups of 8. The capsules that they'll be flying on will have 8 passengers, a pilot, and a safety officer. And just to give you a little background on the flight itself, right now their primary location is going to be the Grand Canyon area, and you'll depart. You'll launch on like a balloon. It's a helium balloon, zero pressure helium balloon, like the weather balloons you see. They get bigger as you go higher. Anyway, the Worldview will take you up to 100,000 feet. It takes about an hour to get there. And then you'll loiter at 100,000 feet over the northern Arizona, southern Utah area. And then after 6 to 8 hours, you'll come back down. But the last 10,000 feet or so, instead of being under a balloon, they're going to cut the balloon away and you're going to be on a parafoil parachute, and you'll actually glide back to the landing site, which to me is going to be the cherry on top of something like that. It's absolutely, I can't wait for that, because they want to be able to get the cross range ability to get back to their launch site so that they can fly multiple times a day. Their hope is to fly 3 times a day, 100 days a year, which will get you 300 flights times 8 people. That's a good chunk of people right there. So you can see they're setting up to really get the people flying, get the numbers going.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Sounds like we lost you, Felix.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Amazing. What do you think about people who what are your thoughts on people who say kind of going to kind of like the edge of space is kind of like a waste of time? What do you think about people who think that?
Well, I'm a realist. I realize 100,000 feet is not technically space, but what we're really talking about is experiencing the overview effect. I mean, and I'll talk a little bit about that if people don't know about it.
Yeah.
The overview effect is a phrase that was coined back in the 80s. The shuttle astronauts would go up there because the shuttle was really the first time that we had people in low Earth orbit for a long period of time who had a lot of windows to look out.
Oh no, did we lose Andrew?
Hello, you there? Am I there? Hello. Testing 1, 2. Dude, you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay. So if you can still hear me, Felix?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm on a serious delay here. So anyway, so the shuttle, like I said, was a time when we had a lot of people with a lot of eyes looking out a lot of windows, and they got to just experience looking down on Earth and spend the time to really take it in to appreciate what the Earth was, where you don't see borders, you don't see cities, you don't see governments, you just see a planet, and you see a single organism that we need to protect. So that's one of the big things now is about trying to save the planet, is getting people to experience the overview effect. The more people that experience the overview effect, the better. because the more people that experience it can then become champions for the Earth and help save it, and make it a better place. And if you achieve that by doing suborbital flights at 5 minutes or 6 to 8 hour balloon rides to 100,000 feet, that's fine. That's absolutely within the playbook. It's a matter of getting the people up there and experiencing and take it in. Obviously, ultimately, you'd love to be able to spend a week on the space station, like one of the Axiom flights, but that is a very, very, very narrow window. That opportunities are super expensive and super exclusive. So you have to look at what's next best available to us right now, and that's the suborbital flights. I do know Ruben Salinas, who's going to be flying on New Shepard, is also signed up to fly Worldview, and I don't know this for a fact, but I'd be willing to bet if you asked him, he would say, "Well, I'm only going to be up there 5 minutes, so I want to enjoy that 5 minutes, and then I can use the Worldview
Yeah.
flight to really take in the planet and do it." And by the way, we're not talking about just going up there and just looking out the window for 6 to 8 hours. We're actively discussing trying to do some kind of science of some sort, whether it be photography. I'm looking at doing a ham radio contact with the International Space Station while I'm up
Oh,
there.
wow.
And yeah, so we're looking for any and all opportunities that we can use to make that time well spent. There's going to be Wi-Fi. I'm assuming it's Starlink Wi-Fi, which will allow us to communicate with the
Yeah.
Earth. So if we do live interviews, cut-ins, whatever we can do, that's what we want to do. And we've actually been talking to Worldview about how much cargo space, how much cargo weight mass can we take up with it, and they're looking at that possibility, cameras and whatever equipment. And I encourage anybody who's listening, if you have ideas or have university or organizations that might have an idea or have something that might be worthy of doing that, let us know so we can get them involved also.
Amazing. That sounds amazing, especially that live interview.
I'm sure
There's
we could arrange something. You could interview us while we're up there.
definitely that would be amazing. I've got another question here. Again from Civilian Space. About that flight, I presume he's talking about the Worldview flights. How many people are on the waiting list, and what flight seems likely?
The waiting list. Well, when I signed up last year, I was like 956. So I
Oh,
have to
wow.
assume it's probably well over 1,000, probably closer to 1,500. I could guess. I could ask Worldview about it, but like I said, they're planning to try to do 3 flights a day, 100 days a year. So that's a pretty good number to put people through, get them through that. Now the first launch is still about 2 years away. Actually, Worldview just went through their IPO, initial public offering, and during that kind of business, they kind of stopped doing their regular business, which is flying uncrewed and scientific payloads to the stratosphere. That's where they've developed their ability to loiter. They've been doing it since 2012, and they're the industry leader in it right now. But they're developing the hardware. The 8-person, like I said, it's an 8-person capsule with 2 crew, and there is going to be a bathroom. I checked, which is very important for us older guys
Yeah.
flying on this. It's just like I said, it's an amazing opportunity. And if you wanted to go and just look out the window for 6 to 8 hours, that's completely up to you. But I can't sit still long enough for that. I doubt I'll even be able to stay in the seat for the first hour going up.
Yeah.
I'll be jumping out, taking pictures. I was talking with a couple of people a while ago about ideas of what we're going to do, and one thing we realized is we need to put a GoPro in front of each person so we can just document that in and out of the seat and so forth to get the big eyeball shots and so forth. It's going to be a slow process. The climb to altitude is going to be pretty slow, so it's not going to be like you pull the curtain back and see the Earth at 100,000 feet. You're going to be getting into it. But in my mind, I'm going to be looking, how far can I see? I mean, you're going to see the blackness of space. We might be able to see stars. We don't know. It depends on the time of day, that kind of thing. If they're flying 3 times a day, I'm assuming they'd be flying just after sunrise, sometime in the middle of the day, and sometime in the late afternoon with maybe a twilight landing kind of thing. We've got to figure out how we're going to document it. The GoPros are a great idea. We could use iPhones, obviously. It's all kinds of, I don't want to say the sky's the limit because that's such a out of date term, but it's pretty much unlimited at this point. We can figure out what we can do.
Amazing. We've got another question here from Space Sudoa. Can you share some personal stories or accounts from individuals who have experienced the overview effect, and and how it has impacted their perspective on Earth and humanity.
Well, since I haven't experienced it yet, I can't share mine, but I can tell you, when I worked at NASA back in the 90s, I was involved because I'm a television engineer. There was a payload coming from the Japanese network NHK, was a high definition camcorder. It's one of the prototypes from Sony, because the late 90s is when they were developing the high definition equipment to be used in the broadcast world in the early 2000s. And so I was part of the team that trained the crew for STS-93, which was the commander Eileen Collins, but one of the payload astronauts for that was Katie Coleman. And I got to know Katie pretty well. And in fact, I've reconnected with her. I flew with her on the Astro Access zero-G flight last December. And we got to talking about that. And that's one of the things she talked about, was that the just spending the time looking out the window, you're looking for familiar landmarks and stuff you're familiar with. Then you start looking for, like, I remember, I think it was either her or somebody else said they were looking for the Leaning Tower of Pisa with binoculars, things like that. But it's one of those things where you have to give yourself time. It is as she described it, it's a fundamental change in the way that you think about things. It has that kind of profound effect, and that happens from the prolonged exposure. You start changing the way your mind, like I said, a 5-minute suborbital is great, but you really can't get in the full effect of it. But if you want to search out on the web, I'm sure there's tons of astronauts, people have been in space who can talk about it. I'm sure Peggy Winslet, who just came back from Axiom 2, who's I think she holds the record now for the most experienced astronaut, U.S. astronaut. I'm sure she could talk volumes about that.
Yeah, definitely. Amazing. Well, I've got one last question before we end the space. Is Inspired 24 looking at doing flights in the future with like with SpaceX, kind of long duration day flights to orbit the Earth?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a real long-term thing we've talked about a little bit. But if we, as a 501c3, if we obtain the financing, the multi-million-dollar financing or donations, that's something we'd definitely look at. If you look at the tickets, those high-end tickets, like the Axiom flights, are like $70 million now. And
Yeah.
One of the things Axioms has started going to governments, getting to fly governments, countries that aren't part of the ISS or the Artemis Accords yet, but have astronauts and have aspirations to have a working astronaut program. That's where Axiom is selling their seats. So the next thing would be, there's been talk about how SpaceX is going to start doing 5-day orbital missions. I think Space Hero is offering that as one of their prizes for their reality show. And so that makes sense. So obviously a 5-day orbital mission is going to be cheaper than a 8-day flight to the International Space Station. So, you calculate that backwards, you're still talking 30, 40, 50 million dollars for that kind of thing. Now, if we happen to come upon that kind of money, absolutely we'd give that a shot. But I'd like to aim a little lower to start with and build up to something like that. The million or 200, I think Virgin Galactic's $250,000 now, or did I misread? Or 2.5 million, I don't remember. A lot of those ticket prices are kept secret, so it's hard to really nail that down. Get the actual price. But like I said, we'd like to start small with zero-G flights, space camp, the chase training if that's something one wants to do. But like I said, it's all about seeing what people want and see what they're looking for and trying to fashion it for them.
Amazing. Well, if no one, I don't have any more questions for you. If no one else has any questions, I think we'll end the space off here. Thank you so much for coming on to space today.
I would love to thank everybody who's joined us. I see CL7 in there, guys. He's one of the artists that flew on the Space Plus zero-J flight last year in October, and he was just an amazing person. My mother was an artist, and I have a great appreciation for anybody who creates. And those guys that flew with us, Raven and CL7 and the rest of the guys, just amazing. I love doing that stuff. In fact, Raven was a photographer. I won an NFT from his flight, and I just got the hard copy of it. He autographed it. I'm getting all signed up and framed. I'm going to get it and show it off to the world when I get back. Get it back. So, but thank you everybody who's joining us. I appreciate it. And like I said, if you're interested in joining the Inspire 24, it's www.inspire24.com, or you can check us out on Twitter here. Okay.
I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Felix.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Talk to all later.